What's up, y'all, and welcome back. As promised, here's my movie review of the 2006 classic. Well, classic is debatable. Psychological thriller slash horror When a Stranger Calls. Now, I say it's debatable because it got an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I remember when this first came out, I was like 11 years old. So I was pretty young and I wasn't critiquing movies like I am now. This movie really has its cons, but for some odd reason I can still watch it. Like, it's rewatchable for me. But I do see a lot of critiques saying that this movie compared to the original in 1979 is way different, and a lot of people don't like it. But even if you don't like it, if you want to just stick around and listen to me review it, please feel free. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So this movie stars Camilla Bell as Jill. She's going to be the main person in this movie, but it doesn't start off with her. It starts off with another teenage girl named Stacy. We don't see Stacy, but we do hear her. It starts off with her getting a few phone calls, and each phone call is just somebody breathing on the other end of the line. Have you ever seen Hey Arnold with I can't remember his name, but the boy that was standing behind Helga and he would breathe heavy like that's what she was hearing. So you can imagine hearing that at night is quite scary, quite creepy, quite concerning. So after a while, Stacy started to get very scared. You can hear it in her voice. And not too long after that, we see that she's been attacked and unfortunately killed. The next day, we find out that she was babysitting. And they don't say how many kids, but from what I can detain, the detectives pulled out a full size adult body bag and two small ones, so we can deduce it to there were two children, unfortunately. And apparently, we don't see the crime scene, but the crime scene had to have been really bad because the lead detective that went up to look at it walked out squeamish, walked out disheveled, walked out distraught. So I can only imagine what he saw. I don't know what the it's on the stranger's like. I don't know what the stranger is feeling like. I don't know what his problem is, but yeah, he's off his rockers. So now we get to the next scene. Many, many, many miles away, we're introduced to Jill, our main girl. She's in high school, she has friends, she runs track, and what else does she have? A no good ass boyfriend, Bobby. And what did Bobby do, y'all ask? Yes, it's exactly what you think it is. He cheated. He kissed another girl. And who's the other girl, y'all may ask? Her best friend, Tiffany. Tiffany, I'm gonna get into your ass later. You just wait. You hold off. I'm gonna get to you. So then she starts talking to her best friend, Scarlett. Hey, Tessa girl. Explaining that for the past 2 nights she's been talking to Bobby and she went over her minutes, so now she's grounded and has to babysit. So now we go to the next scene where Jill is in the car with her dad. And her dad basically explains that Mama went over her minutes by 800 minutes. Now, I'm a millennial. I remember a time when we had minutes, and I ain't never go over my minutes by 800. Probably a cool 10, 15, 25, 30, but 800, I was never that bold. like, like Jill, I can't help you there. I wish I could because I was once a kid and I understand, especially like when you got to talk to your boyfriend, but 800 is wild, girl. So basically, her dad explains that she can't have a phone for a month, she can't have the car for a month, and she has to babysit in order to pay back the minutes that she went over. And the funny part about it is, it's just nostalgia because I remember all of this. Her dad was like, all you had to do was wait until after 8 when the minutes were free. And I'm just like, yeah, that girl, that would have made sense. I would have saved you so much pain and heartache. Like, I remember having to wait until like 7 or 8 o'clock where the minutes were free to like go rampant with the text messages and the calls and stuff. So it's just funny to think about. Jill and her dad pull up to the Mindrakis house. So they pull up to this beautiful lake house. I mean, absolutely beautiful. It's actually near some mountains surrounded by trees. It has big windows, big open windows. It's isolated as by itself. So Jill meets Mr. and Mrs. Mindrakis, and they basically explain that they needed a last minute babysitter and that Jill came highly recommended. So Jill seems to be responsible, just not in the aspect of these dang minutes, girl. Like, what are we doing? So they basically go ahead and give her a tour around the house. And I tell y'all, this house is so freaking beautiful inside. It has an in-house pond. I'm talking about like birds, freaking fish. It's so beautiful. Like they whatever kind of Dr. Bendrakis is, he's making bank. So they basically give her a tour around the house, basically say like, hey, make yourself at home, eat whatever's in the fridge. But they do make it a point, which I think it's not odd, but just a little red flag. They were like, hey, the kids have the flu, so don't if you don't hear them, don't go in that room. And me as a if I were a babysitter, I would at least like go in there like when I first get there just so I can make sure that they're there, in my opinion. That's just maybe I'm paranoid, I don't know, but hey, do what you do, Jill. So as they're giving a tour, they also explain that they have a live-in housekeeper, Rosa. She'll probably be in and out. So if you hear something, it's probably her. And across the way is a guest house, and that's for their son that's in college, Todd. But you probably won't see Todd because he basically just comes in and out as he pleases as well. So the Madrakas get ready to leave. They tell Jill that there's an alarm system. They give her the code, they show her how to use it, and they go on about their merry day. It very much seems like it's an easy gig for Jill because, like I said, the kids have the flu, so they're going to be sleeping through the night. She just needs to make sure that, nothing really happens. So after the parents leave, Jill is basically just chilling around the house. She tries to read a book. She tries and takes a self tour for herself around the house. She goes through some jewelry. She tries on some clothes, and then she hears a noise and she thinks someone is in the house is going to catch her because she should not be in them people's closet. So she runs out, pretends like she's reading the book again, all to find out that it was the live-in housekeeper, Rosa. And yeah, that's the last we see of her. So basically Jill just thinks, okay, well, not in trouble. She wasn't paying attention. But this is when the fun really starts. Jill gets a phone call. Yep. And not any phone call. This one isn't concerning, but it is a little weird and it would make my antennas stand up. She basically answers the phone, says hello, and there's what? Heavy breathing. Yeah. Bring in weird guy from Hey Arnold. He does not breathe like that, y'all. I'm just playing, but it's just funny to make that noise. For a few seconds, they keep breathing and then they hang up. Jill thinks it's a little weird, obviously, but she just goes on about her business until we cut into the next scene where she's talking to Scarlett again. Hey, Tessa girl. And basically telling her, like, hey, the job is kind of cool or whatever, just basically chilling. Haven't seen the kids yet, but all else is good. Scarlett makes it a point to tell her that Bobby has been asking her for the phone number to the house so he can call her. And they basically go back and forth, and she tells Scarlett, hey, go ahead and give him the number so I can just end this thing once and for all. So she says, okay, well, I'll do it. So at some point, she will expect to get a call from Bobby. So after she gets off the phone, the alarm goes off. Jill goes ahead and turns it off with the code that she's given, but she does get a call from the alarm company and they basically need to confirm her identity. And she says, hey, like, Tita don't know number, nothing. I'm just a babysitter here. I don't got no password. I just got a code that they gave me. So they say, no worries. We'll just need to call the Androkis to make sure that they can confirm your identity and then we can be on about our business as well, girl. So they call the Androkis, they confirm all is well. Jill thinks it was Rosa that set it off and then turn off the alarm with the code. So the Mandrakis end up calling her and saying, hey, is everything okay? We just got a phone call from the alarm company. And she says, everything's fine. I think it might have been Rosa. And she's just like, yeah, Rosa's always doing that. And here again, Jill's like, should I check on the kids? They're so quiet. And the mom was very adamant, which, like I said, it's just weird. No, 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 don't check on the kids. If you hear anything, like, if they were awake, you would know. So just leave them alone. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I know that's the mother, but I'm at least gonna go peek my head in there just to make sure that the kids are still there. Wouldn't it be funny if you were babysitting this whole time and there were no kids there? Just saying, that's always a possibility. But hey, she doesn't check on the kids again. Jill gets off the phone with Mrs. Mandrakis and she goes and sees if Rosa is still inside of the pawn house and she doesn't see her. Now, my thing is, if I saw Rosa inside the house and then the alarm went off, I would assume that she's not in the house anymore. That the alarm went off because she opened the door to go outside. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm 30, Jill's a teenager, so I don't know. That's just me. A few moments later, Jill gets another phone call, but this one is not any heavy breathing. Helga is nowhere to be found. This one is very much, is everything okay? That was my deep voice. Hopefully I sounded, no, okay, never mind. Just leave that one alone. But yeah, we do get the stranger finally talking, and he said, "Is everything okay?" And Jill's like, "Mr. Mandrakis," and then the phone hangs up. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I just met Mr. Mandrakis. His voice didn't sound like that. His voice was not that deep. And I just talked to your wife and I told her everything was okay. So why would Mr. Mandrakis be calling me? That's another, like, I love Jill, I do, but y'all will see through this whole movie. I know she's a teenager, but in my mind, I'm like, there's a lot of things that I just wouldn't think, wouldn't assume, and wouldn't do. But she is a teenager, so I'm trying to give her grace. But my goodness, it's like, girl, you couldn't possibly think that was Mr. Mandrakis. Those are two different voices. So by this point, a lot of weird stuff is going to start happening, and Jill definitely starts to sense it. She gets another phone call, but this one is clearly a prank call. And judging by the voice, you can clearly hear that it's a teenage boy, and they're just pranking her just to mess with her. I think it was a matter of like, hey, like, what are you wearing or something like that. But she was still kind of like freaked out just because of the previous call that she got. And then she also heard a noise. So now she's like, okay, something's going on. She went to go investigate the noise and she grabs a fire stick and then she tries to go follow it. Come to find out it's who? Her best friend Tiffany. Yeah, girl, you thought I forgot about you, didn't I? Okay, let's get into Tiffany's ass. So basically, Tiffany says she got the address from Scarlett, and like, they're teenagers. I'll keep saying that. I'll make that a point that they're teenagers. But in no world would one of my best friends kiss my boyfriend and then one of my other best friends give the best friend that did me wrong the address to where I was so that they can. No, that's not happening. That's not happening. Tessa girl, I love you, but you was wrong for that. You was really wrong for that. Tiffany goes on to say, like, hey, I was with Bobby first. I met him first. I dated him for one day until he saw you. And ever since then, I wanted my kiss. So I went ahead and did it, and that was it. And I'm just like, was that supposed to be an apology? Because try again. I'm trying so hard not to curse y'all, but she was really trying it. She was like, "Oh my god, I'm a bitch. You know that. I know that. Everyone knows that." I'm just like, okay, well, where's the apology though? You're giving all these like different excuses, but where's the apology? Jill is better than me because I'd have been like, yeah, you need to leave before I do something to you. So basically, all in all, Jill forgives her. Why, I don't know. She tells Tiffany she does need to leave. Um, Tiffany goes out the front door. Jill does ask Tiffany, how did she get in the house? And Tiffany says the garage door was open. So now we have an alarm that went off, and we don't even have confirmation on who did it. We don't know where Rosa is anymore. And the garage door is open when it's not supposed to be. And we're getting weird phone calls. So Jill's antennas are up for a few reasons. She should definitely be concerned. Jill goes ahead and walks Tiffany out. Mama does not set this alarm. You have your antennas up, but you don't even do the simple thing as to set the alarm to make sure that you're secure inside the house with these kids. She's a teenager. I'm just gonna keep saying that. She's a teenager. That's my excuse for her. Now we go to Tiffany, who's outside walking to her car. It's very windy outside, clearly dark, just seems very spooky. She starts hearing footsteps, and those footsteps sound like they're getting closer and closer. She gets to her car, she keeps hearing these footsteps. She's panicking, she drops her keys, but she does finally get in the car. Now, we don't ever see anybody walking anywhere, we don't see anyone. But the way that they did this scene was very eerie to me because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like someone's gonna pop up, oh my god, someone's gonna pop up. And, I don't even like Tiffany, but I don't want her to die. So it's just very much like, oh my gosh, like she's doomed. She's doomed, very doomed to the point where she starts to back up to get out the gate, only to find that there's a tree branch blocking her from getting out of the gate. So she gets out of the car and she tries to move the tree branch herself, and she keeps hearing these footsteps, but we never see anyone. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I don't want this girl to die. I know I don't like her, but I don't want her to die. But these footsteps are getting closer and closer. These saxophones are getting louder and louder for Tiffany, and I hate that for her. So then we cut to Jill, who's back at the house, and now she hears frantic banging at the front door. I mean, like, you can clearly hear that someone is banging for dear life. So she goes, she opens the door, no one's there. And I don't know, if I was Jill, I would have been like, okay, maybe it's Tiffany. Like she was just here and now it's banging on the door, and that type of banging will make me think like, okay, someone's in trouble. But she closes the door. She does set the alarm this time, and now she gets a phone call from Bobby, who's at the bonfire, and she basically asks Bobby like, "Hey, have you been calling me, or have you been prank calling me, or anyone around you?" He was like, "Yeah, someone did prank call you earlier, but I told them to stop." And she was like, "Okay, well, have they called more than once?" And by that time, the signal was lost because where the bonfire is, there's no service. Um, so she doesn't get confirmation that whoever was calling her from the bonfire called her more than once. But we can probably deduce it to they probably just called that one time that we heard. So Jill gets what? Another phone call. And this poor girl, like the series of phone calls she's about to get from this point on, I feel for her. It's just gonna go downhill. She gets the phone call and caller ID says Tiffany. So of course she's thinking, okay, this is just Tiffany playing on the phone again. And she answers it and says, like, Tiffany girl, I know it's you. And who do we get? We get deep voice stranger danger man saying, "This isn't Tiffany." And she's like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Who's this?" And she's like, "Cody?" Cody's the guy that's been prank calling her, the teenage boy. And he's like, "Who's Cody?" And then the phone hangs up. I'm just like, yeah, jail girl, you need to go from concerned to scared. And scared she is, because at this point, Jill calls her dad, no answer. She calls him Androcasis. Androcasis? No answer. She calls the restaurant. They left a number for her to call just in case she couldn't get in contact with their cell phone. She calls the restaurant and they say, sorry, they left about 40 minutes ago. So now she can't get a hold of anybody because all of her friends are at the bonfire and there's no service there. So she's at a dead end. So she does the right thing and she calls 911. And she says, it's not an emergency. Like, hell, it isn't. This is an emergency. I would have been like, yeah, somebody broke into the house or something like that. Or I would have at least I would have lied just so they can get there quicker. If it's not an emergency, then what is it? Because, girl, you're getting weird phone calls from somebody you don't know. And if anything, the more I think about it, this man called from your best friend's phone. Like, that should be an emergency enough. Your best friend was just here. Now someone's calling. She wasn't with anybody. She didn't say she was with anybody. The person that called from her phone called you way earlier before she even came. So like, one and one, put them together, girl. They should equal two. The math isn't mathing for you right now, and it should be, Jill. Like, come on, this is an emergency. And even if you have to lie and like just be like, oh my gosh, like somebody just broke into the house or something like that, like just say something to get these people to come to the house. Set the alarm off and don't answer the phone. Like, you got to get somebody out here. Me personally, I don't know if it's just because I'm a paranoid person, but I would have been I would have been had somebody come out here just to like just sit with me until the Mandrakis come, because like I don't want to be here alone. Like, the kids are possibly here. I don't know if they're actually here or not because I haven't went up there and checked. Mama says don't check them, but like if someone could just sit here and be with me for the time being, I would really appreciate that, because somebody keeps calling me. That would have been me. If I would have got in trouble for it, so be it. At least I would have been safe. That's just me though. Me, adult me. Sorry, y'all. I went on a whole rant. So she's on the phone with 911, right? And she basically explains that she's been getting calls like every 15 minutes and they don't say anything. It's just very much heavy breathing. But like, I think she should have explained like they have been saying stuff the last few times and then called from my best friend's phone. Like, you gotta really paint the picture here, girl. Like, you making it seem like this is no big deal when it is. This is like, Jill, girl, you're really losing me. You're really losing me. So because Jill isn't painting like the whole picture and she's not selling it that something's wrong, the police officer says like there's not really much we can do because this doesn't seem like a threat. And that's when she sees Rose's car. And that's what makes her feel more at ease, because now she knows someone's here. But you don't know where Rosa is. You do see her car though. So the officer's like reassuring her like, see, someone is here. Like, so you shouldn't have to worry that much. Just make sure you call back if anything else happens, and I'll be happy to help. So after she gets off the phone with the officer, she calls for Rosa, but she never gets a response. So she goes ahead and calls Rosa's number that she got from the refrigerator to see if Rosa will answer. She calls the number and she hears a phone ring. She follows the ringing phone and she finds Rosa's phone and Rosa's purse in a room. So I guess in her mind, she still thinks Rosa is there somewhere because her car and her purse and stuff is there. Right after that, what happens? Ring a ling a ling a ling a ling a ling a ling ling. Hopefully I answer by the time I finish singing. The phone rings, and it's Mr. Deep Voice Stranger Danger Man, basically asking Jill, "Have you checked the children?" Like at this point, I'm pretty sure I would have. I'm pretty sure I would have I would have crashed out. I don't know how I would have crashed out, but I'm pretty sure I would have did some form of crash out. I don't know to what level. You know, there are levels to the crash out, but I'm pretty sure at that point I would have been at least like a level 3. Cause what do you mean, have you checked the children? How do you know there's children here and that I'm watching them? So Jill, now she's for sure spooked. She goes for the first time to check on the kids. She opens the door, opens the door. She opens the door. She goes upstairs, she opens the door, and the kids are there, shockingly. When I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure when I first watched this, I'm like, okay, there's no kids here. Like they can't be because like we haven't seen them yet. But she sees them, they're fast asleep, everything seems to be fine. Jill goes back downstairs and she gets another what? Ring a ling a ling a ling a ling a ling a ling ling. Hopefully I answer by the time I finish singing. Another phone call. And who is it from, you may ask? It's from Deep Voice Stranger Danger Man. And this man proceeds to say, "How are the children?" Oh, I'm sorry. How are the children? And I gotta say, this one was like a good little like scene because you get the scary violins and you get the slow motion of Jill dropping the phone, and you can clearly see that mama is spooked. Like I honestly don't know what I would do in this given situation because now I know that there's someone out there somewhere watching me, because how do you know that I just checked on them kids and then you called back to ask me how them kids were? I honestly don't know at this point what I would do. I know for a fact I would have closed all of those windows if they had blinds or something like that. I'm closing up shit. I'm going to lock myself in a room somewhere, probably with the kids or something like that, and I'm calling the police nonstop until somebody gets there. I'm calling the police. I'm calling my dad. I'm calling them in Jockuses, wherever they are. Someone's gonna pick up the phone and someone's gonna come here. And this is why I said earlier why I might lie to the police and tell them to, like to get them to come, just so I won't be alone. No. I'm so sorry. At this given point, all bets are off. You got to do what you got to do to stay alive. God, my girl had enough sense to go ahead and close them blinds. I personally would have done that when I first got there because I love open windows. I love big, tall, open windows. But like in the daytime, when you can see, when you can see out, at nighttime, when people can see in and you can't see out, that's when it's time to close the blinds. So I'm happy that she finally closed those blinds, but now it's very clear that mama is spooked. And I feel for her because I too, like, I honestly wouldn't know what to do. I know for a fact I probably would just keep calling people until someone answered. I would keep calling the police until someone got their asses down there. But y'all, like, I would be so spooked. Like, so she calls the police back and she gets back in touch with the same police officer that she talked to a few minutes ago. And she tells him, like, hey, he can see me somewhere. He called me back and he's being weird, blah 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 blah. And the police officer is just like, ma'am, this is a Wendy's.
I just don't really know if I'll ever really feel anything again, you know?
Ma'am, this is a Wendy.
I'm playing. He didn't say that. The police officer basically tells her, like, hey, you're safe inside that house. You have an alarm system, all the doors are locked. You have that live-in housekeeper. Like, you're safe inside there. This is just some guy that's just like harassing you. And I'm just like, yeah, like harassing. That's the point. He's harassing me. Send someone now. Like, I'm just a teenage girl. I don't care who else is here. Someone's harassing me. They're calling the house harassing me. No one else. And if I was Jill, like if I was thinking in that moment, I would have been like, yeah, but I haven't even seen that housekeeper in a minute, actually. So I don't know where she is. So in theory, I'm here by myself. Send someone now.
Police! Police! Help! Police! Help! Police!
I would have been so aggravated with that police officer. I'm just like, sir. And he's just in the first part, he's basically not like very helping. He's like, it's just frustrating. But he does say, we can try and get someone out there, but it's gonna be like probably 20 minutes before we can dispatch someone because you are very far out. And it's just not very reassuring at this point. But in the end, he does help her by saying, hey, we can track this call. If you give us the address, we can track any calls that come into the landline phone and we can pinpoint where that call is coming from. But you have to keep the caller on the line for at least 60 seconds. And Jill's just like, hey, he only stayed on the phone for a few seconds. But she says, you know what, I'll figure it out. So that's the game plan. Keep him on the line for about 60 seconds, and then we can kind of figure out where this man is calling from, even though it's very clear that he's close because he can see inside the house and see what all Jill was doing. But luckily, the curtains are closed now. We're assuming that he's outside. So now, what happens again? Hopefully, I answer by the time I finish singing. The phone rings. Joe answers, and he's not saying anything. Of course, we're going back to heavy breathing again. Jill, tries to keep him on the line, tries and does like the small conversation line, questioning why he's doing what he's doing, blah, 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 until he eventually hangs up. It definitely wasn't 60 seconds. So, Jill basically has to wait for him to call again for her to try and keep him on there again. At this point, Jill sees a light come on in the guest house. Now, remember, the Mandrakis said that they have a son in college that comes and stays in that guest house from time to time, but he won't come to the main house because he's just like in and out of his guest house. So I guess Jill assumes like that it's the son Todd that's in that house. So she calls the guest house. No one answers, but she leaves a message like, "Hey Todd, just wanted to let you know I'm getting some concerning phone calls, and if you can, like come over and kick it with me while the police come, because I did call the police, that would be great. Like that would be fine. And anyways, these are your brother and sister that I'm, babysitting, so why don't you come help me out? So Jill takes it upon herself to run to the guest house. Yes. Yes. She leaves the main house with the kids still inside to go to the guest house to see if someone's there. And it's like, I get you're trying to like get someone here, but I don't think it was a smart idea to leave those kids there because you don't know, that man is clearly watching you. You don't know if he would have saw you leave and then like go into the house himself and then do something to those kids. Like I just think that was too risky for me. But nonetheless, she goes to the guest house, she gets in, she doesn't no one's there. So then she gets another phone call on the guest house phone line. So she answers the phone. Deep voice stranger danger man is heavily breathing again. And she's trying to keep him on the phone. She keeps him on the phone for 60 seconds, but she realizes that he called the wrong phone line. So Jill looks out the window into the main house and she sees a light come on. And it's just like she just assumes like the worst things because at this point she thinks that that's Rosa in the house. This whole time Rosa's been in the house and she hasn't been answering you. Like you've been calling her name and she has not once answered you. Yeah, that's definitely Rosa, Jill. That's definitely Rosa. Like I would have been like, okay, so now Jill has to make her way back to the main house. And it's just like, girl, you are so bold. I promise you. At this point, I'm not leaving that house. I probably wouldn't even be leaving the room that I would lock myself in. But hey, you do what you got to do. I couldn't do it. So she makes her way back. She's running, hauling ass. I mean, she had a flashlight in her hand. The tree knocked it out of her hand, and she just kept running. She didn't even go back for it. I'm just like, yeah, girl, that's exactly what I would do. You run and you ask questions later. Whatever you drop, it just drops and you leave it. So she gets back in the house. So now she gets back into the main house. She's safe inside, and she's looking for Rosa. Now, as Jill is looking for Rosa, guess what happened? Hopefully I answer by the time I finish singing. Mr. Deep Voice Stranger Danger Man. And what is he doing? As usual, she's trying to do her 1-2 again. She's trying to keep him on the phone for at least 60 seconds. She's just, asking him questions, saying like, hey, the police are on their way. Maybe my dad will pick me up. Maybe the police will take me home, blah, 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 blah. And she finally says, like, what do you want from me? And this man proceeds to say, your blood all over me. Ugh. And Jill, of course, is just freaking freaked out. And I really feel for her because I don't know what I would have done in that situation either. I think I would have just like passed out or I don't know. That's some stuff that would make you weak in the knees. Because what do you mean your blood all over me? What do you mean? Like, that's not even sanitary. So now, y'all, things are just very much just to shit at this point. Now, Jill hears running water in the shower. So she proceeds to go to the bathroom and she walks in and she doesn't see anyone in the shower. So she does turn the water off and then she gets another phone call. Now, I know we're thinking this is deep voice, stranger danger man, but it's actually the police. Jill answers it thinking that it's deep voice stranger danger man. Jill, is about to go off on him and the police officer delivers one of the most iconic lines in movie history. He's like, "Jill,
listen to me. We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Do you hear me? It's coming from inside the house."
And like I think before Jill could even process everything that he was saying, she drops the phone again and then there's that high that violin playing scary music and her dropping the phone in slow motion and it's just that was specific like scene right there. Like that line, that scene, her reaction is just all so perfect. Like I can only imagine how that scene was in the original movie in 1979, but this one I personally think this was like perfect cinema right here. I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so scared for this girl. I don't know what's about to happen next." But yeah, so she drops the phone, she turns around and who does she see? She sees Tiffany. Tiffany dead. 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 I mean, like, not alive. I mean, like, not breathing. I mean, like, she did. So now Jill knows for a fact that the stranger man is inside of the house, the power is out, and her best friend is dead. And at this point, she should probably assume that Rose is dead too. So now, Jill, being the good babysitter that she is, she goes and looks for the kids so she can make her way out of that house. So now Jill is making her way out of this room and she's looking around every corner, and she should. That's the smartest thing to do. And she has a cross section where she's looking at the kids' room and she's looking at downstairs as if it's like, okay, should I save the kids or should I save myself? Should I save the kids or should I save myself? Kids, self, kids, self. But she does end up going to get the kids as she should. And when she goes into the room, the kids are not there. So at this point, it's like, me personally, I'm like, okay, I don't know where the kids are. I don't have time to look for them. The best I can do is call for y'all one time. And if I don't hear nothing, I'm not gonna say what I would have done, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But she does look for them in the room and she does find them hiding inside of a chest. So it makes me think that those kids saw or heard something a few minutes prior that made them hide. So luckily they were smart enough to hide. And by the time that she got them, out of the chest and trying to get them somewhere, she looks up and who does she see for the very first time? Mr. Deep Boy Stranger Danger Man. And we don't see him, but he looks scary just from the back, just from his silhouette. Yeah, I'm scared. So Jill and the kids run into the bathroom and they lock themselves in there. Jill's doing a really good job so far at, protecting these kids. She's using everything she has around her to her advantage. She's taking like some type of cord and she's wrapping it around the door just, for extra protection to keep the stranger from getting in. He jumps down into the kids' room and he ends up breaking the door down. But by that time, Jill and the kids have escaped into the pond room, which is kind of cool that it was connected to the kids' room. So Jill and the kids are in the pond room trying to escape, but there's only one way in and there's only one way out. And at this point, by the time that they try and exit, the stranger is already downstairs and he's just waiting on them. He is at this point menacing. We still don't see his face, but we get like, his body frame, we know that this man is on some other kind of evil, creepy time. It's crazy. So Jill, she's doing good at protecting these kids still. She's thinking fast. What does she do? She runs and she turns on the mist that covers the whole room so you can't see anything inside. That gives them enough time to, go and hide. So she tucks the kids away over in the corner and then Jill hides in the water under the walkway of the pond. And homegirl, she wanted to add some extra protection, I guess. She goes ahead and goes all the way under the water, and guess who she sees? Guess who we finally see after not seeing her since the beginning of the movie? Rosa. And what is Rosa doing under water, you might think? She being dead. She not breathing. She's not alive. She dead. D-E-D dead. I knew at a early point in this movie that Rosa was dead, but from the looks of it, it doesn't even seem like Rosa ever made it out of that pond room. I don't know when he could have possibly killed her. Like, where was Jill? But yeah, it didn't look too good from her. It didn't, but yeah, it didn't look too good for her from the start. R.I.P. to Rosa, man. Never knew you, but I knew you were probably a good woman. So, Jill, she's panicking now. Um, by the time she comes up, the kids are making a run for it, and they end up making a noise. The stranger sees them, but at this point, the stranger kind of knows where Jill is because now he jumps on top of the walkway and he's grabbing for Jill. He knows she's under there, and Jill, she's quick. She's quick on her feet. She ends up flipping the walkway over, and both of them are now inside of the water. She's able to get out in fast enough time, makes her way out of the pond room. But before she makes it all the way out, I mean, she's right there, but like at the door frame. The stranger gets a good pull on some of her hair, right? Thinking fast again, like, I love this about Jill. She doesn't get enough credit for being like a good final girl. She did what she was supposed to do. So as the stranger has a hold of her hair in his hand, she grabs the door and she does the best that she can to pull it, and she ends up closing it shut and she locks it, but her hair is now stuck in the door. The stranger still has it, which is freaking crazy. So what the Jill does? Jill takes a sacrifice for her own hair, pulls herself forward, and just, he had a good chunk of her hair. Just like, it was cool. I love that Jill did that because that's some badass shit. I probably would have hesitated a lot before I did it. Like, oh, this gonna hurt. She did it in one pull too. Like, I really like that part. That was cool. So now she's free again. Strangers locked inside of the pond room. She needs to find the kids. When the kids left out the pond room, they were trying to go through the front door, but Jill had latched the top part of the door and the kids can't reach it. So, because the kids can reach it, they just decide to hide. Now, Jill is making the executive decision to look for these kids again, and I'm just going to keep reiterating until the end of this video. I'm not sure if I can be as brave as Jill was with saving these kids because I had to find y'all the first time when y'all wasn't in y'all beds. And now I clearly see the stranger in this pond room and I have to go looking for y'all again. Anyways, Jill, like I said, she's very brave. She goes and looks for the kids again. She's calling their names like, kids, kids, where are you? Looking around the whole house. Eventually, she passes by the stairway, right? And the stairway has a little bird on it. She walks a little further up. There's some more birds. And she comes to see that all of the birds in the pond house are now on the outside of the pond house, which means the pond house door is open, which means Stranger Danger Man is out. And again, I reiterate, Jill is a brave girl. She's so brave. The minute I would have saw that door be open to that pound house and I don't see the stranger man anymore, I'm running out and I'm gonna be like, kids, I tried. This was the best I could do. I will tell great stories about y'all to the news. I will tell y'all parents that I fought to the end. But quite literally, at this point, y'all are still hiding. I know y'all hear me call your name. Y'all not coming out, but the stranger man is out the pond and there's nothing else I can do for you now. We've come to the end of the road. Like, I'm telling y'all, man, Jill, she's I applaud her because I just don't know. I would have been so impatient. My flight or fight would have been like, okay, you gotta go. You gotta save yourself. Like, you have no time to waste at this point. You don't know where these kids are. If you waste any more time looking for these kids, it's gonna be all over for you, girl. And then no one's gonna live to tell the story. But Jill still looks for the kids. She ends up finding them, hiding. And I tell you, man, I I would have had some worse than the kids when we got out of there. So they end up making a run for the front door, and she gets both of the kids out the front door. But by the time she steps one foot out, the stranger pulls her right back in. So now they're tussling. She's running, he's chasing. She's running, he's chasing some more. She's running some more. He's chasing even some more. And it gets to a point where he gets on top of her. He strangles her. And luckily, she's fighting to the end. She ends up getting a hand of the remote, which is a remote to the fireplace, and she turns the fireplace on and the flames just kind of burst out, and I guess they get like like the back of his neck, and that's enough for him to stop strangling her for that moment. And she gets free. So now that Jill is free, Jill is able to grab a hold of a fire stick, and what does she do? Mama plunges it right in the middle of his hand, and she stabs him good enough to where his hand is now attached to the floor. Like he won't be able to move, which is great. So she gets her one off, she gets her stab off, and she runs to the front door. And as she's running through the front door, she runs into a police officer, which is the one that she was on the phone with, that let her know like someone was in the house. And Jill is just hysterical. She's kicking and screaming. She really, in her mind, she doesn't know who this is. She's traumatized at this point, and it's kind of sad because it's like, dang, this is a girl who literally was babysitting to get some money to pay off her debt for her phone bill, and it turned into such a traumatic night. Our girl Jill, she makes it out. Our girl Jill makes it out. She survives, and she saved the kids, which is a plus because. But yeah, I'm so happy for Jill, man. She deserved that. Granted, like she made a few mistakes through the night. At the end of the day, I'll at the end of the day, I'll keep saying it. She is a teenager. Like she did the best she could, and the best she could caused her to survive. So Jill, come get your baddie chain, girl. Come get your baddie chain. Because a lot of people couldn't do what you did. A lot of people couldn't do what you did on top of saving two kids, might I add. So Jill is outside. She's by herself actually. So I'm not sure like where her dad is. I'm gonna talk about her dad later. But the Androcuses, they come, they're hugging their kids. I very much hope that they gave Jill an extra tip on top of what they were gonna pay her, and gave her all of the praises, because like I keep saying, baby girl did not have to do that. She did have to do that. So basically, the police officer walks over to Jill and lets her know, like, hey, like, you're safe now. He can't harm you. He's over there in the police car. He's chained up and he's sedated enough to, sedate a horse. And Jill is basically like, that's not enough. That's not enough. He put me through hell all night. And we even find out from they play like a news report, and it basically says that that man killed multiple young girls. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like the news reporter said that he killed like 15 people, specifically young women. So yeah, Jill's right. That's not enough. For when he goes to court, I'm gonna need for that judge to make it stick. I'm gonna need for him to give him the worst possible punishment ever, and then make it worse than that, because Jill was the one that got away, but those other girls, they didn't live to tell their stories. So yeah, he's gonna have to pay. So and basically, police car drives past Jill with him in the back. Jill's able to get like a really clear glimpse of him, and my God, if it is not disturbing. I've seen this actor in a few other movies, and he does a good job of looking menacing in this movie. Like they do like a real slow-mo close-up shot of him. They do like a light focus on him, and he's looking like he'd do it again if he could. Like if I didn't have these handcuffs on me, if I wasn't sedated right now, I promise you, girl, I'm coming after you again. That's very much what it gave. So that in itself, now that's adding on to Jill's trauma. Now Jill's probably under the impression like, okay, this man, like, he probably could be anywhere. Like I see him right here. He's for sure like locked up in this police car, but I feel like at any given time he's gonna pop up behind me. He's gonna do something. So like I said, poor Jill, she is just traumatized. She is I feel for her. The next scene, we go to Jill in the hospital. She's there in the room by herself. She's looking to call for a nurse, but no one comes. So, she gets up, she walks around, and no one is in this hospital. No one's in the hallways. There's no patient, nobody at the desk. So, yeah, it is a little weird. It's a little scary, especially if you're in Jill's position of what she just went through. So, she walks back to her room because she hears the phone ring. And of course, like I keep reiterating, she's traumatized at this point. So I'm pretty sure anytime a phone rings at this point, she's gonna be like a little shaken up about it because of what she went through that night. So she follows the phone and the phone stops ringing. So she starts to calm down a little bit and be like, okay, well, let's just everything's okay. So she goes to close her door, and from the angle that we're in, the audience, she closed the door. There's a mirror on the back of the door. We see through the mirror that the stranger's standing right behind her and he goes to attack her. But then Jill wakes up. So it was all a dream, luckily. But also, adding on to it again, that mama is traumatized. So she's going to probably be traumatized with every time a phone rings, and she's gonna have these night terrors. She's gonna be looking over her shoulder every time. She probably will never be able to babysit again. That poor girl is like, she was in that bed screaming and kicking, just like, he's here, he's here, he's in the hospital, he's in the hospital, and her dad is there trying to like calm her down. It's just, man. And that's the end of the movie, y'all. It is a very sad ending. Like, it's good that she got away, and she was able to be one of the survivors from the stranger. But yeah, it nonetheless, it is still kind of sad that she's probably gonna have to live with this trauma for the rest of her life. So now about the final thoughts from this movie, y'all. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I completely understand why people have their complaints and their cons about this movie. The movie can be slow at some points. I like I said, I haven't seen the first movie, the original, When a Stranger Calls, but a lot of people do compare this one to that one, and they basically just say that the first one is a lot better, which I said I probably will check that out at some point. But all in all, y'all, I personally like it. It's not one of my favorite movies. Definitely not one of my favorite like thriller or horror movies, but it's something rewatchable. I personally think like, the score of it all with the screeching of the violins and the slow motion when Jill drops the phone when she realizes that the stranger is in fact in the house, like stuff like that is what adds to a horror movie for me. Like stuff like that is what adds to a horror movie, which I enjoy. I will say more times than not, when there's a horror movie where we don't know the motive of why the antagonist is doing what they're doing, I'm more than likely gonna like it. I like it when, there's a little bit of mystery as to why someone is doing something. Leave it unanswered, leave it up for the audience's interpretation. Like, honestly speaking, we don't know why the stranger did what he did. And that's what made it even more eerie. It just gives, like, okay, this man was just doing this to do it. He was just pure evil for some odd reason. He specifically did it to young women, which is adds on to the creepiness of it all. From what we can gather from the first attack of the movie with Stacy, is that he mangled those bodies, like Stacy and the kids' bodies, really, really badly. So I can only imagine what he would have done to Jill and the kids and the Mandrake's kids. Yeah, I personally like it that we did not know why that stranger was killing people. We did not know why he was harassing and preying and stalking people with phone calls and then attacking them in the end. I like that aspect. I do have an opinion about this movie that Jill was doomed from the moment she walked into that house. The moment she walked into that house, there was nothing she could have done. If she would have called the police when she got the first phone call from the stranger was watching her at all times. So at any given moment, if he would have saw that she was calling the police, he would have just went in and attacked her. And he knew he had time because he knows that the house is just so far away from everything. He knows that the police probably would have taken a minute to get there, which the police officer did say, like, we won't be able to dispatch anyone for like the next 15-20 minutes. So that would give the stranger a lot of time to do what he needed to do and then slip out without anyone knowing that it was him. So I personally think that as much as I get on Jill about her choices in this movie, I personally think that she did the best that she could. But, it was always meant for her to get attacked, unfortunately. just because of the location of the house, in my opinion. Like I said, he killed 15 people, so it's not like he didn't know what he was doing. I do have like something that, kind of irked me a little bit. It's just something small, but I have a problem with the Mandrakis not answering the phone. If you know that someone's in your house watching your kids and your kids have the flu specifically too, you need to be on standby if they do call. When Jill called them that last time when, she was panicking because she was starting to get concerned. She called them, they didn't answer. They didn't even call her back. She called her dad, who, like, you should also be on standby too. Your daughter's in these strangers' homes and she's far away. If she needs to get in touch with you, you should have your phone close by. And you don't answer the phone, and you also don't call back. So I definitely have a problem with the parents in this movie specifically because everybody felt that girl. I don't and I don't want to necessarily say that the police failed Jill because, like I said, I think she was doomed from the second she stepped foot in that house. Like I said, if she would have called them with the first phone call, even if they did come when she first called, they wouldn't have gotten there in time, in my opinion. But I definitely think that they probably could have put a lot more pep in their step. It shouldn't have been a situation of, hey, we can't do anything because he's not harassing you. That was the first thing. And then it took for y'all to track the call and then realize that he was in the house for y'all to really take it seriously. That that right there, I feel like that could have been done better because now this teenage girl is traumatized because no one wanted to take her seriously and no one was answering their phone and no one was calling her back. Like, crazy. I do have another tidbit, and this one is just for shits and gigs, but those poor kids probably didn't know what the fuck was going on when they woke up. They probably woke up and was like, saw the man standing over them and the lights was out and it was like, okay, where the fuck is the babysitter? We haven't even met the babysitter. They probably don't even know what her name is. They don't know what she looks like. So they're hiding in the chest. They're probably thinking, man, we got the flu. We're finna sleep through the night. We about to take the Theraflu every 4 hours and we're gonna be good. We'll see our parents in the morning. They were not expecting to wake up to some strange man trying to attack them and them having to be saved by their babysitter who they keep hiding from and not answering when she calls. Yeah, that was a little bit of shade towards the kids because if I call y'all, answer me. That was just something funny that I thought about. Last little bit that I had was a question that I wanted to ask y'all. What would y'all have done when it came to saving the kids? Would y'all have there were two different times where Joe had to save the kids, and I keep applauding her for her bravery on that. But I do want to pose that question to y'all. What would y'all have done? Would y'all have saved yourselves, or would y'all have saved the kids one or two times? I don't want to say there's no right or wrong answer, but just put your answer down in the comment and we can talk about it. And definitely put y'all's questions and thoughts as well about the movie down in the comments below. And we can have a conversation about it. This is my first video doing commentary on a movie. As much as I've seen this movie, doing commentary on it actually like gave me a lot more insight than I thought. So if y'all have any additional insights on this movie, any trivia that I don't know about or many other people might not know about, definitely put them down in the comments. Let's just have a conversation about it. I think this was a good movie to have a conversation about because quite literally this could happen in real life, which makes it that much scarier. But yeah, y'all, that's all I had for this movie. This was my very, very first movie that I've done, and I'm so happy that I did it with what I consider a classic. A lot of y'all might not feel that way, and that's okay. Like I said, put it down in the comments, we can talk about it. But thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And definitely, if y'all have any suggestions on what I should do next, it doesn't have to be horror, it doesn't have to be thriller. It can be comedy, action, whatever. We'll do all genres. I won't stick to one. Put your suggestions down there. I'll take a look. If I have watched it, I'll ask y'all if y'all want me to react to it or do a review, and then we can go from there. But I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day or evening wherever you're located in the world. And I hope y'all continue to spread love because the world could use a lot more of it. Love y'all. Bye.